this institute provides training to all IAS probationers and other IAS service officers who are coming here for training, and all Karnataka administrative service officers, all Group A and B officers of the state government. And sometimes we also conduct national level programs for the central government services. And Center for Disaster Management has been set up here in the year 1999-2000 in collaboration with the Government of India, Ministry of Home Affairs, and subsequently it was transferred to the state government. In the state government, we have the Department of Disaster Management exclusively for disaster management activities, and under that department, our Center for Disaster Management is functioning under the overall supervision of the Director General of Administrative Training Institute, Mysore, who is the Chief Secretary at present, who is heading the ATI Mysore. So this is my background. Here in ATI, every week we have a 6 days, 5 days training program on disaster management on different themes. Basically, we cover all 5 types of disasters in our training programs and focusing on the district specific disasters. Sometimes schools and colleges specific disaster management, safety audit, school and college disaster management plans. We also conduct department specific disaster management programs for the particular departments who have been chosen by the government of Karnataka, who have been actively involved in disaster management. 18 departments have been identified by the government of Karnataka as key departments for disaster management. We undertake training for Grama Panchayats specific disaster management plans. So for them also we conduct 1 week programs. Climate change, leadership in climate change management, we conduct 1 week training programs here. We conduct series of such type of training programs in the Center for Disaster Management, and we have every week 1 or 2 programs always will be there here on disaster management. So we conduct about 120 to 130 training programs every year. We undertake research, writing, handbooks, case studies, and article writing, newspaper publications, and all such type of activities are going on here continuously in Center for Disaster Management. So briefly, this is the background of our center. So those who are willing to come here for any kind of collaborative activity, either with the faculty members or with your students, you are most welcome to send them for any project work or any other activities. Since all of you are working as teachers, I just would like to welcome any one of you to come and work with us in the days to come. So with this background and introduction, I would like to start my session. And I would like to make it a little more interactive. This session will be in 2 parts. One will be on disaster management, and second part, next 1 hour, 15 minutes would be focusing only on colleges and schools, what the responsibilities of the schools and colleges in terms of managing disasters, not within the premises of the schools and colleges, but also in association with the district and state governments. How we can be part of disaster management in the district, in the state, and in the schools and colleges. So that would be the next session. The first session would be on disaster management, and I would be commencing this session with the definition of disaster management. Hope everybody is aware of this definition in the earlier class. Anybody? I would like to make it a little more interactive. If somebody reacts to my queries, it would be easy for me to move ahead. If somebody knows about it already, then I will not be able to cover this. Because I do not know what exactly has covered. Sir was mentioning that some natural disaster session was conducted earlier. Is this definition clear to all of you earlier? As per the
Yes,
disaster,
sir.
it is clear. Are you aware of the Disaster Management Act 2005?
No, sir.
So,
No, sir. No, sir.
yeah, please tell just yes or no so that it becomes easy for me to go ahead. So Disaster Management Act is the foundation for managing disasters in India now. So in India, it means all departments in the state and central government, and all schools and colleges, all hospitals, all industries, name anything, they are all they are coming under the purview of the legal framework which is given under the Disaster Management Act 2005. So I will be asking few questions after this. So I request your attention. There are 11 chapters in this act and 79 sections. So this act mandates every organizations to manage disasters both in their institutions and organizations, and also at the district and state level in coordination with the state and district administration. Now I would like to define what is disaster and what is disaster management. When I say disaster, what is disaster? Anything that causes losses and damages is simply defined as disaster. But under the definition of Disaster Management Act, in the chapter number 2, it says clearly that any calamity, catastrophe, mishap, or any event of grave occurrence arising out of natural or man-made causes, or by negligence, or by accident, resulting in large-scale loss of life, damage and degradation of environment, damage and destruction of properties, and is of such a nature and magnitude which is beyond the coping capacity of the affected community. This is the definition given in the Disaster Management Act 2005. I hope it was clear to you in the earlier session. So we need to be aware of this definition, because based on this definition given in the Act, and in the last phrase I told you that any disaster happening would be due to the negligence or due to accident or natural or man-made causes, and it would be beyond the, and its impact would be beyond the coping capacity of the local community. When I said which is beyond the coping capacity of the local community, the disasters under this definition have been classified into 3 stages, 3 levels. The first level is when we need the support of the state district administration. In the second level, if we need the support and help from the state government. In the third level, we need the support and help from the central government as well as international support. So the disaster is also classified into 3 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. So it is basically based on the capacity required for managing the disaster. Hope you are now clear about the definition of disaster given under the Disaster Management Act 2005. I told you this act was enacted in 2005 on December 26th, and it was published in the Gazette, and it was enforced across the country on 26th of December 2005. So I think you are clear about the definition and levels of disaster now. Now I would like to define what is disaster management. It is a continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating, and implementing measures which are necessary for pre-disaster stages and post-disaster stages. If I ask you what are the pre-disaster stages in a disaster, you are aware that prevention, mitigation, preparedness. Prevention, mitigation, and preparedness are the pre-disaster phases of the disaster. Soon after the disaster, we have search and rescue operations, relief management. Soon after that, we will be recovering the essential services. We undertake losses and damages. Then we undertake, based on the loss and damages and release of compensation, we will be undertaking the rehabilitation and finally reconstruction. These are the post-disaster phases. So one must understand what are the pre-disaster phases of the disaster and what are the post-disaster phases of the disaster. So managing both pre-disaster phases and post-disaster phases systematically using proper process of planning, organizing, coordinating, implementing of different measures is called disaster management. Any doubt in this now? Hope you are clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that is what has been mentioned in this definition actually. So we will proceed to the next thing. In this Disaster Management Act 2005, the Act has laid down a clear-cut institutional framework, financial framework, and responsibilities for all the agencies, departments, both central and state governments, and it has created 3 important authorities at the national level, at the state level, and at the district level, and also executive committees at the national and state level. We have a couple of institutions, National Institute of Disaster Management and National Disaster Response Force being created here, and 2 departments are nodal departments, that is Ministry of Home Affairs and Department of Disaster Management at the state level. So this is the institutional framework has been laid in the Disaster Management Act 2005. Before enacting this act, we had only central government, state government, district administration, panchayats and municipalities which were managing the disasters. But after enacting this act, we have created National Disaster Management Authority under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister with 9 members. State Disaster Management Authority under the chairmanship of the Chief Minister and with 9 members again. We have State District Disaster Management Authority with 7 members. To assist this authority, we have National Executive Committee here, headed by the Home Secretary. We have State Executive Committee headed by the Chief Secretary of the State to assist the state authority. Under the District Disaster Management Authority, we have created several advisory committees and task forces in the district level. So this is the very strongest institutional framework laid down in the Act and has already been established in the districts, in the states, and also at the national level. Now we have Ministry of Home Affairs, which is helping the National Disaster Management Authority, which is also the nodal department in the country now. We have a couple of institutions like National Institute of Disaster Management in Delhi, and we have National Disaster Response Force, where about 16 to 17 battalions are created and located across the country. We have Department of Disaster Management in every state now, which is a nodal department and headed by a minister as well as one principal secretary in every state. So this framework is being utilized in order to manage the disasters in the state, district, the Gram Panchayat levels. So it is a very strong institutional framework which has been laid down by the Act. So, for example, all schools and colleges will be coming here in the district administration. So, whenever there is a disaster in the district or in taluk or Gram Panchayats, the NSS, NCC, Scouts and Guides, teachers can be called to manage along with the district administration. So your responsibility lies with the district administration actually. So you are part and parcel of disaster management. All schools and colleges are supposed to manage the disasters happening within their premises and from outside the premises of the schools and colleges in coordination with the district administration. Sometimes if it is a small thing, it is panchayats. If it is a cities, then municipalities. So your framework will be within these three circles. So you need to be part of disaster management, and you must also know that there is a Prime Minister 10-point agenda in which they have very clearly mentioned in one of the agendas saying that all universities, all colleges in the country must be networked to manage effectively the disasters happening across the country. So this is the framework that has been laid down under the Act. Any doubts in this? Anybody? Anybody is having any doubts?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No doubt.
No doubt, sir. No doubt.
Na class ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ So you are clear. So I will move to the next one. So I think this might have been already told to you. Types of disasters. I will not go much into this. Water and climate related disasters, geological disasters, biological disasters, chemical, industrial, nuclear disaster, accidental. So under the disaster management framework in India, the government of India in 1999 formed a high-powered committee under the chairmanship of J.C. Pant, who was the Home Secretary then. They went across the globe and studied how the disasters have been identified across the globe, and they have actually classified these disasters into 5 categories. So like this. One is water and climate related disasters like floods, droughts, cyclones. Then second one is geological disaster where earthquakes, landslides, etc. Under the biological disasters, all kinds of communicable and epidemic, endemic kind of diseases. And we have chemical, industrial, nuclear disasters. And last one is accident related disasters. All kinds of accident related disasters which are not listed in the first 4 categories. Like minimum building collapses, festival related disasters, crowds related disasters. It could be accident related disasters, road, rail, water, air, etc. So, or even wars, Naxalite activities, etc. So all of those can be grouped in accident related disasters. In fact, accident related disasters are more in number nowadays. So we'll go to the disaster management cycle briefly. I think somebody might have told this. I just want to again recap it. So I already told you, the preparedness, mitigation, prevention comes before the disaster phase, and then search and rescue, relief, rehabilitation, reconstruction comes after the disaster. So when I said disaster management, we need to first prevent it. For example, if there is an accident in a road, how are you going to prevent it? If there is an accident every week in that particular road stretch, how are you going to prevent it? Either you provide proper illumination saying that there is a danger, or will put up a board, or will construct a wall, or will provide some road humps so that accidents are prevented in the stretch. That is structural, that is non-structural mitigation. If the road itself is to be realigned in a different direction, then we call it as structural mitigation. So we have got both structural prevention, both by doing so we are preventing the accident to happen. So prevention is slightly different from mitigation. We have structural mitigation as well as non-structural mitigation. For instance, if there is a flood, people are living on the floodplain. What is the structural mitigation and what is the non-structural mitigation? Can I ask you under the mitigation? People are living in the floodplain area along the river course. Now there is going to be a flood. So how are you going to mitigate this, both in terms of structural as well as non-structural? Can anybody tell me? Just think about it. This is one just for thinking about this one. If your own college, the second example is in your own college premises, there could be possibility that some fire incidents, building collapses, accidents inside the premises, like electricity related short circuits, or any other incident could happen inside the premises. If there is a road high tension line, then accidents could happen. Or from outside, there can be possibility that kidnapping or anything can happen to the students in the premises. Now, can you tell me one example of structural mitigation and non-structural mitigation for your colleges and schools? If somebody asks you, prepare a mitigation plan, prevention plan, preparedness plan for your colleges, or a gram panchayat, or a district, or the department, how are you going to do? If it is a mitigation for your colleges and schools, I can say the entire the college can form a group of students, teachers, forming a team for information, education, communication to disseminate the information on do's and don'ts, to conduct or organize essay competitions on disaster management, to conduct regular mock drills on earthquake, flood, fire safety, etc. These will form the non-structural mitigation. What is the non-structural mitigation then? Structural mitigation. If particular classes or a particular lab is unsafe in terms of building safety, then we undertake retrofitting of that existing classrooms or portion of the building which is unsafe. If the water tank is unsafe, then we have to retrofit that. If the pillars and columns are not safe with the cracks and all, the walls are having cracks, then we undertake retrofitting, strengthening of the existing building components so that the building remains strengthened and safe. So you must know what is the structural mitigation and what is non-structural mitigation. What is preparedness then? In this case, anybody? Preparedness for your own college and schools, how are you going to do? For a district, like, when you prepare the district disaster management plan, we prepare the entire plan for all these stages. Okay. In the preparedness, we identify all the men, machine, materials. We undertake all the hazard risk vulnerability analysis, risk, and then we identify how much is the risk, what is the capacity for managing such a disaster risk, and then form different teams, search and rescue team, etc. And then provide them all adequate resources, identify Air Force, Civil Defense, Home Guards, Police, and all the departmental teams, including NGOs, community, etc. And then give them proper training, provide them all the resources, and then ask them to do the disaster management whenever a disaster strikes. So this will form the part of preparedness. We collect all information, keep all the data, we keep all the telephone numbers, mobile numbers, etc., and keep the data ready of all the men, machine, materials available in the district. That is called preparedness. If it is a college, then college level. If it is a hospital, then hospital level preparedness plan. If it is an institution, institutional level preparedness. Like that, we prepare preparedness plans at every level. So preparedness, mitigation, prevention are part of the pre-disaster planning. Soon after the disaster, we undertake search and rescue operations. If the people are trapped inside the building, if the people are trapped inside the flood water, if the people are trapped inside the crowd, we undertake search and rescue operations. Then take them to relief shelters, safe relief shelters, then provide them all the relief like food, medicine, etc. Then we'll undertake recovery operations of essential services. And then once the recovery happens, then we'll undertake rehabilitation like housing, infrastructure, etc. In case it is necessary, then we undertake reconstruction. Generally, it will be a different place where we undertake housing, including livelihood activities and many more. This may take more than about 1 year, more than a year many times. So when you say disaster has happened, then search and rescue should be done immediately. Golden hours we call them as. So sometimes platinum 10 minutes also we need to undertake certain activities because people will be losing their life if it is delayed. drowning cases would be there. Fire incident might have happened. So we must immediately, swiftly act within 10 minutes. That is, within 10 minutes means platinum 10 minutes. Next 1 hour will be called golden hour. So many lives could be saved within the golden hour. Therefore, golden hour is more important. So search and rescue operations should always be done on war footing within 10 minutes, sometimes within few hours. Because essential services are like educational services, health services, water, electricity, telecommunication, etc. must be recovered immediately. Otherwise, this relief, search and rescue would be delayed. And therefore, recovery is to be taken up immediately, simultaneously. And then rehabilitation, and then reconstruction. So this entire cycle is called disaster management cycle. And we prepared disaster management plan for all these stages, both at the Gram Panchayat and district levels. Which one is important, pre-disaster or post-disaster? Managing pre-disaster is more important than post-disaster phase, or post-disaster phase is more important than pre-disaster phase? Anybody?
Pre-disaster management, sir.
Pre-disaster phase, sir.
Why?
Because as we know, prevention is better than cure. So if we are prepared well in hand, that will come handy even after in post disaster management.
You are absolutely right. In the Disaster Management Act also, in the Chapter 1, and also in the policy, Disaster Management Policy 2009, they have very clearly mentioned that relief-centric, now there is a paradigm shift from relief-centric approach to proactive approach. What is that proactive approach? Proactive approach is basically prevention, mitigation, preparedness, which are taken up before the disaster or after the disaster? Before the disaster. So before the disaster, if you manage these three important stages properly, the losses and damages that are going to happen during the disaster would be reduced to a great extent. Losses in the sense, the impact of the disaster would be reduced to a great extent. Therefore, the Government of India, and also in their policies, as well as the Disaster Management Act 2005, very clearly mentions that pre-disaster phase is more important than the post-disaster phase. So very nice. Next we will go. Let us go to the global evidence now. Extreme weather events are becoming more common and severe. So if you look into this, you can see hydrometeorological disasters are increasing. What do you mean by hydrometeorological disaster? Just now we spoke about it. Water and climate related disasters are increasing here. You can see here. In one of the reports, global report, they say that in 2020 alone, 380 climate and water induced disasters have happened as compared to the last 20 years, and which the average was only about 289 to 300. So in the last 10 years, from not even 10 years, 2020. So the disasters are increasing, and we can see here the curve also how they are increasing. So floods, droughts, storms, these are the most severe events that are happening across the globe, and India is no different. So extreme weather events due to the climate change are happening almost every year now. If you compare this in 81 countries, see 74% of the global emissions have a net zero target. So how many countries have decided that by 2050 their emissions will become net zero? So most of these yellow shaded countries, including this Australia, some part of Europe, America, Africa, part of Africa, South America and North America. So most of them have said that their net zero emissions will be 2050. And target year 2050, like this pink colored. After 2050. For example, India has agreed to come to the net zero emissions by 2070. And most of these countries, pink colored countries, have said that they have come to the conclusion, they have decided that their net zero emissions would be by more after 2050. Before 2050, how many countries? Very few countries. Part of Europe and a little bit of this much and this our border country here. So very few countries have the target year before 2050. So net zero emissions means carbon emissions, that is CO2, nitrous oxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, etc. They are actually causing more serious problems nowadays because the temperature is rising and the cyclones in some part of the globe, drought in other part of the globe is going to be the phenomena due to the carbon emissions resulting in the surface temperature of the sea increasing, leading to El Nino or La Nina impacts. So this is happening across the globe now. And you can see here, the Indian subcontinent is among the world's most disaster-prone areas. And you can see the flood, earthquake, drought, cyclone, pest diseases, forest fires, epidemics, hailstorms, thunderstorms, tornado, landslides in the last 50 years. This is the last 50 years data. So almost it is, if you say flood is, see your flood events are more here. So again, we have cyclones, drought, so hailstorms. And if you see the Wayanad disaster, is it a result of climate change? Anybody? Wayanad disaster, is it part of the climate change or a natural disaster?
It is a, sir, it is a national
It is
disaster.
a climate change, sir.
No, there's
From
again,
rainfall and
so some of you are there from Kerala here. Wayanad disaster, you see within 48 hours, they have got 470 mm rainfall. 470 mm rainfall in 48 hours is uncommon in the history of Kerala in particular place. Why such a huge rainfall happened there in Wayanad? So it might be due to climate change. Even in Karnataka, in Kodagu district, between August 15 to August 22nd in 2018, we received every day 200 mm rainfall, 150 to 200 mm rainfall for a week. It had never happened in Kodagu, that happened in Kodagu in the history of Kodagu. Therefore, all such events are happening nowadays, leading to landslides, floods, and many other problems in those areas. So even now also we were unable to estimate how many people have lost their life inside the debris in such events, Wayanad or Kodagu or Shirur, etc. So this is the scene there in Wayanad. This is Kosi. This is our own Belgavi flood. The entire area is inundated. Belgavi flood. Again, same Belgavi flood. The Konkan railway being affected by the landslide. What do you see here after the disasters? We see such type of incidents. Loss of life. This incident, can anybody tell which incident it could be? This is tsunami incident in 2004 in Tamil Nadu. Same. This is the landslide event. This one in Uttarakhand. So people would be like expressing their grievance like this, grief, after losing everything. In a school in 93 children burned to death in fire incident in a school. You can see here. All children were burned to death in that particular school, 93 children. This is a school premise actually. There was a school here. And what was the reason for this? Teachers and school headmaster didn't know do's and don'ts. They were even not able to rescue the children. Children were sitting in the class and there was a smoke inside the classes. Children were affected by the smoke. They had asphyxia. They fell unconscious. Then they were burnt inside the class. So
Sir, is this incident of Kumbakonam fire incident, right?
this is the Kumbakonam incident.
Yes.
93 children were burnt to death in this Kumbakonam in Tamil Nadu. You are right. So why I am showing this is that our schools and colleges were not prepared to manage their own incidents like fire safety, earthquake, diseases, injuries, building collapses, name anything. They were not prepared actually. This is the problem. Now also many schools and colleges are not prepared. It is here in Mysore. This particular portion fell actually here. There was a school, college here in Mysore. Chemistry lab it is actually. That was fell down during rainy season. The reason is that you can see here trees. The trees have grown inside the wall and their roots were embedded inside the wall and foundation. In the roof, there was a lot of water stagnant there, along with the leaves which were rotten for a long time. So this was the reason. That means the schools and colleges were not maintained properly. So the poor maintenance of the schools premises also may lead to building collapses. So just I wanted to show that a college, very famous college, was collapsed here. Landslides, one of the natural hazards that can affect large area of the country every year during monsoons. Karnataka landslide here in Kodagu, Hassan, Chikmagalur, Dakshina Kannada, Uttara Kannada, Udupi, Shivamogga. These are the districts which are most vulnerable to landslides in Karnataka, where we identified 23 taluks, which are similar to Uttarakashi, Uttaranchal also. Who owns hazard? Who owns disaster? We all own these hazards. Negligence of these hazards would lead to disasters. Do you lack knowledge?
Yes, we lack knowledge.
Do you lack appropriate skills to manage these disasters?
Yes, we
sir.
do.
Yes, sir.
Do you lack resources? Definitely.
Of
Of
course,
course.
obviously.
Yes.
Do you lack commitment?
100%.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
So, and also attitude, right attitude.
To a
This-
great extent, sir.
This is lacking because people are not empathetic nowadays. Not at all.
So even if there is a hazard in our vicinity, sometimes we do not address that.
Sir, they only shoot video. They shoot video instead of going and helping the people.
That's the lack of attitude. This is the problem here in India. Not only India, even in many other countries also. People are reluctant to address the problem and they face problems later on. That is why we always say, please address the problem before it turns itself into a dangerous situation. Today, if you invest 10 rupees in the form of structural and non-structural mitigation or preparedness or prevention, you may say 1,000 rupees tomorrow. But people are not doing that. So they are reluctant, they are negligent, ignorant about the possible hazards, turning themselves into disasters. This is the problem we are facing today in most of the institutions, organizations, government, non-government, private industries also. This is the problem. So we need to address this immediately so that we reduce the disaster risk continuously every year. So that in the days to come, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, we have zero tolerance for disaster risk, loss of life, injuries, economic loss, etc. That is what we are trying to address in this institution, in our institute. We are trying to address this through our training programs, mock drills, by writing, SOPs, guidelines, etc., and giving a lot of awareness and training to all the officers in the state government as well as institutions. You know, hazard, risk, vulnerability, and capacity analysis. We always say risk is directly proportional to hazard and vulnerability and inversely proportional to capacity. Do you agree with this? Disaster risk is directly proportional to hazard and vulnerability, and one more term, exposure, and it is inversely proportional to capacity. Can anybody explain about this among you? Disaster risk means losses and damages. Loss and damage due to a disaster is dependent on hazards, vulnerability, exposure, and it is inversely proportional to capacity. How are you going to?
Sir, if we are very incapable of managing the disaster, then there will be the more risk, sir.
That is one thing. That is capability. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What about hazards, vulnerability, and exposure?
If hazards and vulnerability are more, then the risk will be also increasing.
Risk will also be increasing. So exposure in a college during daytime, if there are 10,000 students, exposure is more or less? Exposure is
More,
more.
sir, more.
More,
sir,
more.
More.
Exposure will be more. If it is in the night,
More, sir.
If it is at night, students will not be there in the college. Most of the time, the students may go to their homes. So what I am saying is exposure during different times will be different. In Mumbai, if the earthquake happens at 12 o'clock in the noon, 12 o'clock in the midnight, the risk will be different.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
True.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very true, sir.
Similarly, colleges, when the classes are going on, if the disaster happens, exposure will be more during daytime, office working hours, as compared to non-working hours. So just I wanted to tell you that disaster risk dependent on the type of hazard and the magnitude of the hazard, intensity of the hazard, and vulnerability, extent of vulnerability, and extent of exposure. One more you can add E actually here. And it also depends on the availability of capacity in your institution. If the capacity to manage the disaster risk is better, then risk will be reduced. If you do not have the capacity to manage the disaster risk or disaster impact, what do you mean by capacity then? Anybody? Take for example.
Capacity to employ resources when it is needed mostly.
So what kind of
During the
resources are needed to manage the disaster risk? If the disaster happens, what kind of resources are required?
You need human resource assistance, also the your conveyance, transportation, and food. Food supply is also important.
So
These three, my human resources are equally important, because if you don't have volunteers, NDRF volunteers, then it is difficult to manage everything there.
good that
We ordinary people cannot manage the disaster the way the trained NDRF people will do.
So that is why the college students, the volunteers taken from teaching community, students community, self-help groups, NGOs are also being trained now under the Apta Mitra scheme. For example, in Karnataka, every district is having about 300 to 350 volunteers being trained. Most of them are teachers, some of them are students, and some of them are from different clubs, NGOs, etc. So all of them are being trained for 12 days in search and rescue skills. Search and rescue skills means fire safety, flood management skills, fire safety skills, and etc. Even basic life support skills like CPR and etc. Swimming, diving skills. How to use the machineries, boats, equipment, etc. So all that kinds of skills are being given in this training. Then that is a human resource, trained human resource. Along with the trained human resource, we should also have adequate resources, as you mentioned. If it is boats, then number of boats. Along with boat, life jackets. Because many times boats are capsized, and if there were no life jackets, the people have drowned and died. In one of the incidents in Belagavi, 23 people had died without life jackets because that boat had capsized inside the water. Sometimes the students who were drowned in the water while swimming without CPR and with CPR. With CPR, some students were rescued. Without CPR, some students died. Even the knowledge about the basic life support like CPR is also very, very important. That is also capacity. Like that, capacity can also be in terms of materials, men, machineries, money also. So all these capacity appropriate to the kind of disaster risk management is necessary in every school, every college, Gram Panchayat, district, and the state. So if it is not properly developed, then disaster risk will continue to increase, and more loss of life and more damage to the properties will continue to happen in the days to come. So we need to, that is why in the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, which was held in 2015 in Sendai in Japan, there were 4 priorities for reducing the disaster risk. Can anybody tell those 4 priorities for reducing the risk? 1 priority, 2 priority, second, third, fourth. Under the disaster risk reduction framework, there was a convention held in 2015 in Sendai by 196 countries across the globe. They all went to the Sendai in Japan. They signed an agreement and they all declared that by 2030, we will bring the disaster risk to 0. That means we are going to be going to become zero tolerance countries to the disaster risk by 2030. How many years have been left now? Today it is 2026, only 4 years are left. So we have declared, all of us have declared that disaster risk will be reduced to 0 by 2030. Then what should we do then? Our country also agreed to that. So we must identify all the hazards in the country. We must identify how much is the vulnerability, how much is the exposure, and then we must increase our capacity so that risk is going to be reduced every year. And it is measured in terms of risk is measured in terms of loss of life per lakh population, injured persons per lakh population, economic losses, infrastructure losses. Every loss is measured and every year it has been compared with other countries in the NDMIS portal. There is a National Disaster Management Information System portal is created in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, to measure the disaster risk. How many people have died this year? How many people were injured this year? How much of economic loss happened this year? Everything is measured, and how much you have spent for structural mitigation, non-structural mitigation, prevention, preparedness, etc. And both spending as well as losses are measured, and our country's disaster risk index is measured, worked out, and it is compared with other countries. Whether our country is standing in the middle or at the top or below that. So all this comparison is going on across the globe, and the disaster risk reduction framework called Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, where 4 priorities have been mentioned. The first priority for disaster risk reduction is strengthening of the disaster risk governance. What do you mean by strengthening of the disaster risk governance? So I already told you just now, at every level, institutional level, school, college level, district administration, state government, hospital level, dam level, every level, you must improve the disaster risk governance. Institutional framework, financial framework, everything has to be strengthened so that risk is reduced. That is first priority. Second priority, they say that investment in structural and non-structural risk mitigation. So increase your investment in structural and non-structural mitigation. That is what it says. Accordingly, the Government of India under the 16th and 15th Finance Commissions, they have allocated a lot of funds for mitigation, and educational institutions can also avail this facility. The amount for mitigating their disaster risk in their school premises and college premises. So now the fund is available, but nobody is submitting the projects properly, and they are unaware of the availability of fund itself in the government. So all government colleges and schools can submit their project proposals to the government, to their respective state government, to avail the mitigation fund, which is available in the Department of Disaster Management in the respective state governments. Why I am telling this? Many educational institutions are vulnerable. They have their own disaster risk. They continue to conduct their classes in educational activities under the disaster threat. Therefore, they must prepare some project proposals and submit it to the government and get the funds and address those problems. That is what is necessary immediately, so that your risk will be reduced. We do not know when the disaster will happen. So please go and identify those hazards, that risk, vulnerability, and immediately arrest it by mitigating that using the funds from the government or any other source, even CSR funds also. Okay, so you are all professors and take the lead and try to convince your principals, prepare some project proposals, prepare proper plans, and get it done immediately, so that nothing does convert itself into a risk. Hope I am clear. This is the second priority under the Sendai framework. Third priority is capacity building. That means capacity building and training. Under that, we can undergo training and develop all the man-machine materials, conduct mock drills, prepare for the disasters, etc., etc. So that is basically capacity building. And fourth priority is build back better. Something happened there already, then build it better than before. That is build back better. Like, Gujarat, Bhuj, it had happened, one earthquake had happened in 2001. Now the Bhuj has become very good now after reconstruction. Similarly, many other areas where disaster had happened earlier, now they have been built back better by better investment. So these four priorities were mentioned in the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So I'm just mentioning at this stage because R means disaster risk. Disaster risk reduction has got four priorities, and those four priorities are being implemented by every state government through the funds that are available from the State Disaster Risk Mitigation Fund, State Disaster Response Fund, National Disaster Mitigation Fund, National Disaster Response Fund, which have been created under the Disaster Management Act 2005 under chapter number 9, section number 46 to 50, where they have made it compulsory for all the Gram Panchayats, institutions, state government, district administration to avail and mobilize the resources available under the 16th Finance Commission given by the Government of India to the state governments, and also the funds that are mobilized through CSR funds, donations, etc., and even budgetary allocations from their respective departments. So this is the message that I wanted to even give it to all of you, so that you will also be taking up such type of proposals in your educational institutions. Hope I'm clear to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
It's getting clear.
Okay, I do not want to just tell you something theory. Why I am telling this is because when officers come here from different educational institutions, we are also telling them to prepare project proposals and submit them to government and avail the funds available to them. So now I am going to this has been already told, so I will not go into this. There was a President's Palace, earthquake in Haiti. Haiti is a country which is it's a Caribbean country. You see, in earthquake, this entire palace was also collapsed. This is a presidential palace actually. In that country, when earthquake happened of 7.7 magnitude happened there, and you can see the kind of damage that has happened to the president's palace. So this is a Haiti earthquake. Most of the buildings had collapsed. Even in that earthquake, that fire incident took place. after the earthquake. And you can see how it looks like in Haiti, dust and pollution. Even after 2 years also, they were still searching for the debris, under the debris. There are any people being trapped, anything that is there inside the debris, they were still searching. So this shows that the country Haiti was not in a position to come back to the normalcy within few days. That means even after 2 years also, they were still searching for the valuables inside the debris. This is the problem. At the same time, he had a Bhuj earthquake in 2001, almost at the same time, with the same magnitude. In Haiti, 2.5 lakh people died. In Bhuj, 20,000 people died. In Japan, only 1% died. Not due to earthquake, due to heart attack. Almost of the same magnitude of earthquake happened in 3 countries. One in Gujarat, other in Haiti, and Japan. So which country is more resilient? Japan is more resilient than India. India is more resilient than Haiti. So of the similar magnitude of earthquake, 2.5 lakh people died within few seconds in Haiti. People, about 6 lakh people, another 3 lakh people were severely injured actually there. Out of 30 lakh people, 6 lakh people almost vanished in Haiti in this earthquake. In Japan, only 1% died of the same magnitude of earthquake. In India, only about 15 to 20,000 people died. Exactly. So just comparing 3 different incidents in 3 different countries with the same magnitude, the losses and damages are different. And they are different because of the capacity of those countries. Japan is having better capacity as compared to India. India is having better capacity as compared to Haiti. Just I wanted to tell you how capacity.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir,
Yeah,
it is not audible, sir.
the RP is disconnected.
Disconnected,
nice.
sir.
Okay.
Disconnected.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This hailstorm in Karnataka is almost every year it is happening in Karnataka state. This year also it happened about thousands of hectares of land was affected for the gardens, horticulture crops in Karnataka state very recently, last month. So this is in Chamarajanagar district in Karnataka and many Raichur, Tumkur, and we have got in many Chamarajanagar in Dharwad district, everywhere. About 178 houses in Kalgatigi, in Dharwad, were affected by the hailstones, very recently. So this is a hailstorm impact. Okay. There was elephant in Mysore. It came inside the city and it killed many people around. One person was killed here. So human-animal conflicts are also there like this. This is the elephant corridor in Karnataka state in Bandipur Tiger Reserve. So there are a lot of problems around this area. Elephants are attacking the human beings. They also damage the sugarcane, etc. Even sugarcane as well as banana crops almost along the corridor. This is problem is there rampant in Mysore region in Karnataka state. If you see how is the human-animal conflict, these are the human deaths every year. Elephant attacks. So tiger attacks, leopard, bison, crocodile, bear, wolf, deer, and wild pig. So total deaths 26, 50, 41, 29, 51 like that. So it is increasing almost every year nowadays. This year also it happened actually. And elephant deaths are increasing every year now in Karnataka state. Now you can see here this is animal deaths. Those are human deaths and these are animal deaths. Here again you can see 134, almost 141, 95, 74 like that. The elephant deaths are more in number compared to tiger and leopard attacks. So animal deaths are also increasing. These numbers are more than the human deaths. See, human deaths are very minimal compared to animal deaths. 141. Elephant deaths are more in number. You can see here. So why they are more in number? Elephant deaths. Maybe we are killing them.
Sir, poaching, sir.
We are killing them actually. We are killing them through by shooting them, electrocution, and then poisoning them also in the coffee estates, etc. So this is happening around actually. That is why that number is increasing. See, these are attacks. No, people have been killed by the animals, leopard, elephants, etc. in Karnataka state, and it happens almost every year. See, banana plant being affected by the elephants. These are industrial disasters in Karnataka. Just I want to tell, these are the hubs, industrial hubs.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
This is break time, sir. Again, join
yeah.
11:45.
What time you join?
11:45, sir.
Yeah, we'll join at 11:45. Thank you very much.
Participants, you will join the 11:40. Session start at 11:45.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.